Welcome back to another episode of Murder, Mysteries, and More. My name's Kaylee.
My name is Desi.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell next to the subscribe button to turn on post notifications. Before we get into this case, we always encourage those who have useful information for any unsolved case to please report it to your local police and sheriff department.
Cults have been super trendy for over 100 years now due to people being vulnerable and needing a person/god to believe in. What happens when a church cult infiltrates a dance group and turns that into a cult as well? Now get comfy, grab a snack or a drink, because you're in for a long doozy ride with this one. Today we'll be discussing the ever so lately popular Church of Shekinah and the dance group 7M.
Not much is known about Robert Shinn. He is the founder of Shekinah and 7M. It's presumed that he may be Canadian American or Korean American. Robert founded Shekinah in 1994 for those to join as a member's last chance into heaven by rapture. Robert had preached to members at the time that they can leave the church anytime, but if they did decide to leave, them and their families would not be protected and instead would be prone to spiritual attacks or attacks by the devil. Robert is also tied to multiple other corporations and companies. Some of these companies are Alpha Plus Reality, RPC Financial Inc., and Imaginating Pictures. Robert has 3 children, Isaiah, Chloe, and Conrad. He's currently married to Hannah Shinn. Robert has also been accused of sexual assault and financial exploitation. In 2009, a former member of Shekinah sued Robert Shinn, stating that he forced her to donate $3.8 million, all in the name of God.
In the name of God.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, in the name of God. Bitch, I wouldn't be donating that much. You crazy.
Yeah.
But alright. So into some very popular members. These members were actually also in the documentary called Dancing with the Devil, which you should check that out on Netflix. It's gonna be Melanie and Priscilla Lee, who were both born in South Korea. They moved to America, specifically LA, shortly after their father abandoned them at a young age. Their mother was an alcoholic and a gambler who cared less about her children and left them alone for days or months on end at a very young age. Priscilla, being the older sibling, had to grow up fast and take care of Melanie. Melanie was the very first one to join Shekinah. As she says, "I was very lonely and Shekinah was just full of hope." Melanie only had one friend from school, Mark Richardson, due to Priscilla being worried about her getting into drugs. Priscilla joined shortly after Melanie. At this time, there were only 17 members, and most of them were Robert's family. 2005, Melanie became baptized and started believing that Robert was a man of God after a rash that she had in her body magically disappeared. As more members joined, they were all moved around to different houses/complexes, and Melanie and Priscilla were eventually separated. Now, the rules of Shekinah were that you weren't allowed to stay up past 10 o'clock, you had to be up at 5 a.m. and be at the church by 6 to pray for an hour. You could not choose what you wanted to eat, you would have to eat what they would make you for the day, and each new member was assigned to a quote-unquote spiritual mentor. And this is very crazy, but they said that you had to report every thought that you had, good or bad, to your mentor. Which makes no sense to me, because why the fuck would I report every single thought that I have to somebody?
Yeah.
Like,
That's
fam, these are
not
my
a good idea.
It's really not. And 70% of the 70% of the money that the church members made, whether it was from jobs that they had outside the church or jobs that they had inside the church, went to the church. And most were only left with $80 for the month. $80.
Which is not enough. That's gonna get you a tank of gas.
that's about it, because like, where the fuck you gonna go? And that was kind of like their point as well. Like, if you don't have as much money, you're less likely to leave. Melanie was the first one out of the sisters to leave Shekinah, and that was in 2011, which was prompted after Robert tried to sexually assault her and then told her to go sleep with another member. Her friend, Mark, was the one who actually helped her escape Shekinah. At that time, she did try to convince Priscilla to come with her, but Priscilla stayed behind in fear that if she left, bad things would happen to her and her family. Because that's what Robert had like instilled in her, was like, if you leave, bad things are gonna happen. You're gonna go to hell. Them. Yeah, he basically brainwashed them, and Priscilla was completely locked in for so many years. And she was absolutely terrified. Priscilla would not leave until May of 2022 after being sexually assaulted, verbally abused, and she even got physically sick from all the stress that she was dealing with because of the church. Here's a quote from Melanie describing as far as like, you know, what's life like outside of Shekinah. Even after you leave a place like Shekinah, it's not over. The battle you have in your mind, especially when you're alone, it's tormenting. You're experiencing loneliness and self-doubt. You think, I should just go back in, because where do you start?
Yeah, what are you gonna do after that?
Yeah, because you've had to rely on this like cult and this person and this like group for so long. You go out into the world on your own and you're just like, where do I start? What do I do? I have absolutely nobody outside of this place, so where do I go?
Which is sad.
Yeah, it's sad, and it's like very crippling, which is why a lot of people tend to stay in cults, because they have that fear of they're just gonna get on to the real world and they don't know what to do.
Robert Shinn founded 7M sometime between 2019 and 2021. Isaiah Shinn, Robert's son, was the videography of James, he's known as BDash, Derrick, a member of 7M. Other members are Miranda, Wilking, Derrick, Aubrey, Fisher, Ceasare, known as Tighteyex, Willis, Kendra, Willis, known as KO, Alexandra, Watkins, Gordon, Watkins, Kylie, Douglas, Kevin, Davis, known as Konkrete, Kailea Gray, Vic White, and Nick RainO, known as RainO. BDash recruited all the members by telling them to come over to Robert's services to hear him preach the Word of God. Melanie Wilkin, Miranda's sister, was invited to a dinner party once, which they believe that was an opportunity to recruit her. And there were some very strange events that did happen. Melanie was asked if she was a sinner by Robert, and she replies, I don't think so. Robert responds back by saying, what if I told you that you have already sinned 1,000 times today? Melanie responds, I don't know, and Robert says, well, you have. If you died right now, you would go to hell, but we'll help you. Everyone sat around in a circle. They held each other's hands. Robert spoke in tongues, and he put his hands on Melanie's head. The following week, Melanie received a phone call from Chloe. And on this phone call, she stated that she needed Robert to hear his word today. She had to pick up a friend from an airport. So she declined, and she was never invited again. January 2021, Miranda was supposed to go on a plane back to Michigan with her sister Melanie. Her grandfather just had passed away, but 30 minutes before the plane departed, she decided she wasn't gonna go, and she told her family she had COVID, which she had COVID a month prior. So clearly she did not have COVID. When approached by her family, she said, well, have to see if I come to the funeral, I have to ask someone closer to God than you, end quote. Each 7 member was promised a place to stay, money bags, fancy cars, etc. if they joined the cult. Members were also forced to dance along to the old school hits that Robert would pick, as he was the man of God, and each member did have to pay these fees out of the money that they made. So they had a 20% management fee, a 10% tithe fee, 10% man of God fee, which is ridiculous.
Crazy, bruh.
Yeah, 10% offering fee. Like, so many freaking fees. Members only saw roughly about 30% of what they made, and members were forced to die to themselves, which basically means whatever you want or need, die to it, because whenever you die to something, it'll come back to life and resurrect. So you had to die in order to save your family and go to heaven. And they were also told to cut everyone off. You need to work on only yourself. The goal is not to keep them cut off. It's eventually to reach back and get them to follow God.
Which is like,
yeah,
so fucking crazy, because like if you cut them off and you come back and you're trying to get them to follow God, do you really think they're going to willingly go?
No,
because I don't think so.
They're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. If it was me, I'd be like, you're fucking crazy and you need to leave this fucking place because look at what they're doing to you.
Yeah, this is one giant red flag is what it is.
It's a very big, like, red flag, and a lot of people are, like, turning blind eyes to this, or they don't believe it or whatever, but it's, like, been confirmed by many who have been in Shekinah or the cult, like 7M, that this is a cult.
And cults are very real still to this day.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously. And people are just so vulnerable, they just willingly follow somebody who's like crazy and calls himself the man of God, but it's like, you're on a power trip and you want all this money and all this like fame, and it's just, you're a narcissist basically. The Wilkings family and also other family members of the Shekinah Church and 7M tried to file a police report against the cult in 2022, but not much could be done since they were adults and it wasn't considered trafficking by the Human Trafficking Association.
And also
many survivors of Shekinah, especially those who were sexually assaulted, have come forward and started a sexual assault case against Robert, but no further legal action has been taken due to the police saying they don't have enough evidence or witnesses, which is bullshit because they've had plenty come forward. Legal action has been taken by Melanie and Priscilla against Robert, but trial on that is not expected to start until 2025. Aubrey Fisher, Kylie Douglas, Kevin Konkrete Davis, and Kailea Gray left 7M in 2022. All remaining 7M members have denied they're in a cult, putting out statements regarding 7M and how wonderful Robert is in managing them. Miranda has been the only member of 7M to re-establish limited contact with her family. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. The other people haven't talked to their families.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Into our favorite part, Reddit comments. Quick as a turtle, the 7M TikTok cult. So Winix, he preaches fear-based fire and brimstone nonsense. He controls young females who lives in a house he owns. He disconnects family. He separated 2 young sisters who were were in his early church. This is absolutely a cult. Yeah.
SWS Nix, he targeted low-income kids from immigrant communities. He controlled everything they did, where they lived, had them working for almost nothing in all his various businesses. I hope the Attorney General in California looks into this more, which I doubt they will.
Stock_problem_1737. I learned about this from one of my friends. It's kind of crazy because we both knew the Wilkins. Their parents worked at our middle school and we had seen them around a few times.
Oh, interesting. Mochi Mama. Mochi Mama. I have never heard about this until this documentary. I am much older but have a daughter who's 22. She is on SM or 7M SM. She's on SM all the time. I am on Reddit and TikTok a lot during the day. I have to think there will now be pressure on the DA to move forward with these sexual charges, one can hope. I highly doubt it because they still haven't done anything. So, I don't think they will.
Shiny Will X4. I think the dancers, the situation offered stability in the form of housing, and also the management finds the deals and they only have to dance. I can see how it is initially attractive to them. They get to live off their artwork with other dancers and they respect and they have the community of the church, but unfortunately nothing in this world is free. Yeah, I can see how it could be definitely appealing, especially to people who do want to make a living off of dancing, because it is realistically very difficult to do that.
Very difficult. Logical SJ9262. Watching this docu-series right now. This Miranda girl sounds possessed. The coldness and emotionless state that her parents described is actually pretty scary. It's very scary. It's like she just is a nothing. Like, there's no soul in her or anything, basically. She's just a statue.
Swamp the Yarn. The documentary made me so sad to watch. I have a sister who's only 14 months older than me, and the Wilkins sister remind me so much of she and I. Not to mention they grew up really close to us. I hope Shinn gets what he deserves and justice is served.
On to the next one, which is going to be by RCH-IE, and this is about Miranda Derrick's response to the 7M TikTok cult documentary, which she completely denied that they were in a cult and that her family has a problem. Gruesome Twosome 27. She's definitely in a cult. While I understand there may be more nuance to their family dynamic than what we saw in the documentary, any group that encourages you to die to your family is not a healthy environment to be in. I don't know if she'll ever see that, but I hope so. Yeah, you're right. I've never been told to die to my family, so that's just very suspicious.
Me either.
Yeah.
Anna M. Do. Every time they played audio of that shithead saying anything, I was horrified. He was revealing in his saying this weird evil shit.
Bruh, sometimes he would when they would play the clips of him speaking in tongues, he sounded like he was fucking possessed by a demon. I'm not kidding. It was very creepy for me to hear it and ugh. And his voice just gave me the ick. I don't know. It was very icky. I don't even know how to say this person's name. Shahrazadithadi.
What?
That's what I'm saying. We're so vulnerable to coercive groups. Even in the age of consent, surveillance is wild. Hope that fuckhead gets what's coming to him. We'll see. With all these trials that are about to come up next year. We'll see.
Kailea Dorsey won, so she didn't go to her grandfather's funeral out of the fear of being held back. That sounds like you're being terrified of what could happen to you if you don't show up to church again. Straight up saying she chose the church over her grandfather. What kind of church doesn't encourage you to assist at your grandfather's funeral? This is so sad.
Very sad.
Very sad.
Joel Allison. I didn't really know who this person was until this documentary. Tonight I've watched almost every video on her IG. The chemistry between BDash and Miranda is non-existent as partners in love. He never looks at her with admiration, and I love this woman look. Never. He actually looks like he's going through the motions. He picked up more when dancing with Vic and another guy, and she also never looks in love with him either, but she looks pumped up perhaps by the fame. It's bizarre. I know it's bizarre. I haven't seen a single post stating this. Am I completely missing it? My point is that the relationship looks forced/arranged. It probably was, like, after a certain point, out of fear of, like, leaving.
Yeah, that could be very possible.
Yeah.
Radio Fleet. Unfortunately, the only thing that could possibly break Miranda and the others free from this nonsense is if the paid sponsorship stopped and if viewership went down, as they'd be bringing in far less revenue. I think the 7M group is likely treated better than other members because they're bringing in revenue. I suspect that if the revenue source was greatly disrupted, the 7M members would have a change of tune.
Yeah, but like the problem is the views are not gonna stop.
No.
People are gonna keep watching because A, they haven't seen this, or B, they just don't care. So it's gonna keep happening over and over again. Rory, she's sneaking. In her last sentence, you can see Robert is speaking through her. She literally blamed the death of her grandpa on her sister for telling her not to pray. That's just fucked up.
Soft Law 6653. Her use of chaotic is ringing alarm bells for me. It's kind of an odd word to describe specific people. Also, yeah, she's in a cult. The way she phrases this statement, complains that her sister got offended when she prayed in the car, doesn't sound normal. I'm a religious person, and usually when I'm around people who are not, I pray in silence so I can still do my prayer but without anybody knowing. To believe that her family is doing this all because she goes to church is very culty sounding.
Very culty sounding. Yeah. Lavender lace and tea. Isolation is the final tactic an abuser will use to gain control over you. Once you're isolated, you're cornered. Your abuser now has full control over you. There are stages to abusive relationships, and this is no different from that. You're completely right, though. I mean, it's the same thing. They just use all these tactics to control you.
Oh no, to this person. Streaking_X. Can't believe people are so easily manipulated. I should start myself a cult.
Bruh.
Please do not start a cult.
Do not encourage more people.
The only
please.
cult I would say to start is to adopt all the animals that are left behind at the shelters.
Can we start a taco cult? I would be down for a taco cult.
Or,
you know.
Yeah, but don't start any, like,
actual cult.
Cult.
We don't need cult culture needs to be canceled. Please stop. I'm begging you, please stop.
Woo, her brain is completely rewired now. Yep.
Brevindally, unpopular opinion, but maybe her family should just leave her alone. But that's easier said than done.
Yeah. So this one is by Lighting. Dancing for the Devil, the 7M TikTok cult, details a strange story of young TikTok dancers enrolled in a mysterious religious organization. And then Fawcett Squared. I've been thinking that we've been long overdue for another good old-fashioned satanic panic.
Satanic panic. That's crazy. I like how they said that though. Oof. Randy Vagoda said, "No thanks. I remember the last satanic panic. My idiot stepmom kicked me out for wearing a suicidal tendencies t-shirt." Damn. That's awful.
Big_mud_7189. The funniest thing is I used to live in Korea. These type of small Christian invite-only groups are very common. We call them cults, but I'm not sure if they have the same reputation in the Korean context. Also strict talent agencies that own you. Also normal in the Korean entertainment industry. Yeah, the entertainment industry is definitely dirty.
It is, and especially in Korea, like, they have all these different, like, talent agencies and groups that do own a lot of, like, Korean bands and singers, and they do some, like, weird shit and put you in these, like, awkward positions and all this other shit. It's weird. I don't know. Puzzle-headed yak 1601. Stupid cancel culture again. There are adults that can make their own decisions. Take accountability for your own life and quit blaming exterior forces. But they're brainwashed, man. What are they gonna... They're brainwashed. I mean... Damn, you know what? We just need to get a paladin. A really good paladin and sick that bitch on him. Problem solved. He'll be eradicated. No more man of God bullshit. The paladin's gonna call you out on your bullshit because they're the holy ones, technically. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. 25 Ren. Sadly, there are so many similarities to other cults, whether Christian-based or not. It is hard to understand how someone can get hooked in, but they do. I know some very well-educated and experienced people who are active and involved in Bhakti Marga, where the leader also has many allegations of sexual abuse. Yeah, people get sucked into cults all the time. It's not funny. It happens a lot.
Yeah, the Dutchess are a cult, too.
Yeah, they are. Gumster said, I literally watched the first 5 minutes thinking it was satire. Ooh. Rip. I thought it was a joke. If you haven't already, again, please go watch the Netflix documentary Dancing with the Devil. They have done such a justice exposing this cult and bringing awareness to those who survive being in a cult. Thank you for listening to another episode of Murders, Mysteries, and more. Tune in next week for another exciting episode, and as always, remember to keep your eyes open. You never know when you'll be sucked into a spoopy cult.